happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll go around the table and see if anyone has any questions for added clarity on the application. We'll start over on this side. John, any questions? Not at this time, no. Dan? No questions. Nico? No questions. Keith? No questions. Darn?
So just real quick, yes, I have to ask questions. So the design parameters, these are what we need to make sure are met.
Yes, and those are found in our small cell tower ordinance, and we're limited by the state and federal law to those questions only.
Okay. Good. That's all I know. Okay.
Are we able to ask if there are other towers planned?
Yes, there are, but they're not in the historic district.
So this is the only one.
This is the only one in the historic district.
And then more of a question of curiosity. Do utilities or providers coordinate or collaborate on placement? So would there ever be an opportunity to combine poles?
Not necessarily, but it's possible.
So another question kind of along those lines, on page 18 of our packet, it has the existing pole that's there. It has the proposed additional poles. Is that saying we have two poles right next to each other?
Yes,
And I read in the packet that you would try to, one of the parameters is that it should be unobtrusive as possible and actually blend in. Is there a way to, if we're not careful, we're going to end up pole after pole after pole along that road and going along with what you're saying. So is that something that we are allowed to stress as far as how many, or if they are in some way can blend into the trees there?
Brett, do you have any comments about co-location?
The one comment about co-location, there is an existing utility pole very near where we're proposing this pole. We would be more than happy to combine and co-locate on that. However, that existing utility pole has 3 transformers, I believe, and primary power running to it. And in that case, Consumers Energy will not allow us to co-use that pole. If that pole had just secondary on it or just communications on it, that would be our first selection, our first priority. But in this case, the poles that are available in that area are all of that same type.
That's really helpful. Thank you. If AT&T had an application right behind you, would they co-locate with you? Would you allow
If the technology permitted it, I am not the arbiter of that cohabitation, but if there was the possibility, then the carriers would co-use just like a typical large pole, like a regular macro site that we call it, like 150-foot tall pole. They cohabitate on those as well. So if it's technically possible, they certainly would.
So on the second page where it discusses this application, number 7, disguising or stealthing poles is encouraged. Do you encourage that?
We can encourage that, especially in historic districts and residential districts. We have that option to what number is that? Number 7. Oh, disguising or stealthing.
Is there a way to do that?
There are ways to do that with making a fatter pole and putting things inside. But I don't know if that's the stealthing that you're looking for. It will look very much like a consumer's pole with a transformer on it.
And I kind of went the other way with stumping, which is the other thing is to make it like a flower brush tree and cover it, but it's still a thing next to a thing.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that would really get us anywhere.
I have a question about the two renderings, view one versus view proposed view two. One looks right on the corner, really close to the yellow curve of the driveway, and then the other one looks pretty far away, like about 20 feet.
Yeah, John, on page, well, keep going and go to the plan view. It shows it's 50 feet from the. Same thing. Yeah, their plan, the actual plan is.
I'm just curious, that seems like the most, I mean, it seems like further down on the other side of the telephone pole and utility poles there would be less visible than this one. Maybe just because I turned this around. It seems like a nice view of the park. That's just right there. And even from pedestrians, on the car there, you're walking. From Hollywood patio, you're looking right at that.
So, can I ask a question? Were there other proposed locations for that pole?
Not at this location. The other ones are proposed out in the residential areas up on the hill.
So Fred, I guess ask another way, is there plus or minus 200 feet of a radius where you explored that this could potentially go? So for instance, on the other side of the driveway where there isn't green space and there's already kind of a utility area of parking and wall fence, would it be possible, did you explore if it could go there and not interfere with the green space or the existing utility pole?
Yeah, yes, we would consider that if there was a location within the relatively close proximity to where we proposed, we would evaluate that and throw that to our RF engineers and make sure that the coverage goals were still met.
Across the driveway is a dumpster surround for the southern single restaurant. That would be, in my mind, an ideal place to put it. It's already kind of on the side of the thing, and there is ground that could be dug in there. There's planting space you really can't see. Well, there's a long parking lot, all those cars on Water Street. There is some place there that is not concrete.
Yeah, so Fred, I don't know if you heard that. Thank you for being amenable to looking in a radius around that. I think our biggest concern is probably going to be on this application, the green space and the proximity to the other utility pole, because that park is so important to the district. But don't take that as a lack of support for better self-service provided that's needed. We desperately need that, so we appreciate you guys doing it. But to Mr. Canarsis' point, across that driveway, I think would be a couple areas where you could explore.
Okay, will you be, will the commission communicate that to us so we can evaluate those locations?
Absolutely, happy to meet you there, or we can do a FaceTime call or something with one of us. Even Cindy can walk out and say, we're right here with our phones or whatever.
Okay, and then once you let us know where you're going to be, we'll come up and do another field walk and make sure that the area is free of underground utilities and do that. And then will we just re-propose then at the next meeting?
I would prefer not to hold you up. So here's a question for the group. If we vote on this application as submitted with conditions conditions. So we go through the approval process with conditions of further exploration with staff or commission approval. Is that keeps the application going instead of having you wait for another month. And as a service provider and as community members, we don't want to hold you up on that. Would that work for everyone?
Yeah.
So administrative, right? If we're gonna relocate, then this document, that's.
So you just want to, what we propose would be to approve it with the condition they explore across the driveway near the dumpsters. And if that is feasible, then they would relocate there. And if it's not feasible, then they would put it next to the consumer's pole. Is that what I'm hearing?
So let me try it in the form of a motion.
Okay.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve application PSC 2101 44 Water Street as submitted with the following requirement that space around the application be explored to not include the green space or close proximity to the power pole or the trees, specifically across Singapore Yacht Club driveway into an area more appropriate for utility services. So anyway, that's my motion. So I did it that way to be specific about where we want it and not to, if you can't do it there, it's approved here. So that motion would say, if you can't do it where we're saying, then you need to come back and suggest an alternative to us. Context to my question. Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. Does that help, Fred, in terms of clearing our next steps?
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate your guys' time and allow us to do this remotely. And kudos to you, Cindy, for getting it set up. That's impressive that it worked.
Awesome, thank you. And then your next steps would be just to explore that location. If you have any questions, let Cindy know. She's 25 feet away from it and can add clarity, or she will pull in one of us to help.
Yeah, Cindy, just so you know, I'll probably let you know when the crew comes up so that you can, maybe I'll drop by the office and have a chat with you before we go over to make sure we know exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, we can see that location from our window, so.
Awesome, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll move on to the next application, which is 100 Culver Street. And this is for a marquee to replace the current board. Any movement from you, Cindy, before we ask Kristen?
I think it's a pretty clear-cut application. Their existing marquee is no longer meeting their needs, and they would like to have a new marquee that's electronic.
Awesome. Hi, Kristen. Introduce yourself.
This restaurant on the second floor. So I'm just going to give you a little bit more background on how you got right to the plan. If you look at this question about this, I can address that. I'm excited to share this with you because it's been a long time in the making. We've never had anything traditional marquee, which we often see the big ones with big letters and all the lights around it that you often see on theaters or performing arts centers. We really wanted to think instead about what would a 21st century marquee look like within a historic district. So trying to understand how we could balance both of those. So we wanted something that was definitely bespoke to the curb and the streetscape, and that would also serve the community. So the design, which Chuck spent a lot of time talking with the staff about what we needed, but thinking about that, how we would blend with the facility's architecture, how we could create a big impact with a subtle and elegant design. Something that is the same footprint is what we currently have there. Something that adds another piece of potential beautiful public art almost to the streetscape itself. Something that would not add any lake pollution. I'll say something more about that in a bit. And I would encourage you, think about what airport kiosks look like. And I guess what I specifically mean is, and you guys probably can't see this, but I can pass this around. Actually, I think of it more as what we now see on bus stops in major urban areas, which appear to be, John, pass this around to you. I mean, to your eye, you think of massive posters, right? It's essentially this sort of low light LED digital. So not what you see on banks or libraries or churches, which make us all gasp and duck. But this type of a very subtle LED screen, which really draw the load, just like it's make a poster that's been on the floor out there. These are high definition screens and dimmable. In fact, almost certainly the turn this off at night, because I don't know why it would be, I don't have no pay for electricity anyway, so it will go off. This would in no way be distracting traffic, much like your phone screen that gets brighter when it's super bright and then dims when it's darker. It has that type of technology. And the screen, of course, is in a fixture that is kind of a surround around this, so that the way Chuck's designed this too. The overarching piece of it is to add, to dim it so that, or I should say, cut the glare so that you can see it quite clearly. There's no glare, and obviously that's not to the glare, just to our consumption. So again, that kind of poster concept is what we have in mind on both sides. So much like the sign now, where you can see it either side of the street, there would be screens on both sides, so that again, the poster is viewable from either side of the
Great, thank you. I'll flip the order this time and start on the other side. Are there any questions or clarity?
Nope, I'm good.
No questions?
Great presentation, no questions.
Yeah,
No questions here. Well,
I think the only thing I would have said that we covered was the general part and making sure that from a street standpoint, it's not a. So I'm glad you already considered that.
Motion?
Yes.
Yep, I move to approve application P-HIS-210244 400 Culver Street as submitted.
One second. Second, John. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Great. Looking forward to seeing you. All right. Is 40 Butler Streets.
40 Butler Street. A quick overview. As you probably are aware, the Butler is in the process of being sold, and the purchasers want to create a 2-story open patio where their patio is currently located. And I think that's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hi. Very soon, see a whole railroad collection. Very happy where offices are. Thanks for having us tonight. We're excited about being part of the home scene. So it's a really big move for us to be able to acquire a property like this. It's such an exciting place and such an exciting environment. And as we've gotten to know Phelps a lot better over the last few months, it's really been fun to get to know the family and hear the history of everything that's going on down there. So it's quite interesting. And it seems like a lot of people know the history, so we're learning about it. We're not sure. You might also know we have a property down in this market at Ravines Golf Club. We purchased that a few years ago. Around a small food beverage operation out there for our golfers, and we also do weddings and some small events at that space. So much more seasonal for us. We're, as a part of getting involved with the Butler, one of the things that we were talking this through and making the purchase was the outside patio area. I've been down on Songtuck for many years, and I don't even know if it's the same page much, so it will change. But it's original. And we feel that that's an opportunity to maybe be improved and make a nice environment. So our objectives really are to have fully functional bars. They don't currently have sun and rain protection, which is difficult out there in the space. I know it is quite small, so right now we have a rope area that goes out of grass with some picnic tables, so we hope to have it look much more like it fits with the butler itself. Easy access, restrooms, now restrooms are not convenient, you have to go into the building all the way to the back. Not easy to get to, we think we can make that easier access for our guests. And then just to have a little bit greater capacity. The thing we find, we have a lot of restaurants in our organization. One of the things we really like to have is outdoor dining space, our spaces, and we find that that's what fills first. During the summertime, the indoor is not where your guests go, they want to be outside. Those might introduce which are a handful going, the majority of people want to be outside. So we'd love to see a greater capacity, and that's why we looked at the two-story. Looking at the plus the fact that what a great view when you get to that second floor. The view of the water, the view of boats, the view of the whole river area is magnificent. You can see it from the bottom of the windows, you can see that. So I have, I think, our renders in front of you. We really try to put together a plan that would complement the looks of the butler in terms of kind of what style design, the angles, the brickwork, the railing. We really try to make it, architecturally fit with what the butler is. And so we think there's a lot of things we can do to continue to shore that up. But we keep the first pass at it for you. Again, it would be a seasonal building. It would be something that would be either air conditioned, would be closed winter time. Still, our plans to be open 12 months a year. So the butler will be available in the off season, so to speak, when we're just indoors. But this would be mainly used for that seasonal time when soccer coverage has to be. So I'll give you a little background.
It does. Thanks so much. Okay, we'll open it up for questions. I'll mix it up a little bit. Maybe start with you.
Okay, just one question, and I'm sure, well, just looking at the drawing, I just want to make sure that it's completely open, right? There's no not any windows, you're not putting any garage doors in or anything like that.
Correct. Completely open.
Okay. Nice.
So, the first floor would give protection. The second floor is protection for the first floor, but then it's just a roof line, and that's what you see. There's no window or wall.
That's what I thought. Okay, thanks. No questions.
Yeah, one question. Is there an ADA requirement to access the top level?
Not done work.
No, there isn't, because there is enough seating on the main level, so, and they have access to that.
And the restaurant also.
Good question.
Could you tell us more about the materials, the decking, is it synthetic or what is
I mean, our plan at this point was to use concrete flooring and check maybe what the materials in terms of roof and sidewalls.
Sure, the house would be made out of masonry. We kind of made our first goal was to get a consistent base, and that is kind of what's around the butler right now. And the frame itself would be timber, and that's.
Timber. And the roof would match exactly.
the shingles?
But the same roof that's on, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what color the piece is. I think it's a leather, like medium brown. Yeah, I don't know, we did it wrong with one in the back. And then the railings are.
Actually, what I drew on there were, were the black kind of raw iron railings, kind of to match the garden center that's on the corner, to kind of bring that together, to bring it all together with the butler building as well. But that was my first pass. But I thought that would make it look nice, a little more contemporary, but yet the feel.
The information blue corner.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, that's my only question.
I guess similarly to carry on what John asked. So making sure you're familiar with the guidelines for new construction on materiality. So he referenced timber. masonry, which is great, all natural materials. I'm assuming like what it looks like it might be a metal under the soffit, sort of a, almost like an industrial. I think that's probably 11 volts. And then the only other two things I would say is under fencing. I don't have the memory right now, but I feel like, so obviously the whole I would want to make sure that there's compatibility between the railings on this structure and the railing that goes around the whole area. But I think that's wood.
Yeah, is that part of this plan? Well, no offense, it's really, it's not part of this plan. Okay.
So that's okay. I just want to make sure there's compatibility now or in the future with that.
So you're saying potentially looking at that pool?
Yeah, there's so much railing here with up, down, and 2 levels. I would just want to make sure that it, you know, when you look at the elevation in total, that it doesn't feel like a lot going on with railings.
Because the pool is on the back side, a little bit between your, this, that current deck. You can look over the pool area, but it doesn't look lost.
Yeah, well, that fence is wood, is really bad condition. And I've always wanted a black fence like this there. I think it feels like it just closes everybody off who's walking down the boardwalk. But it would, I mean, what Tim's saying is correct. Like, you're not doing that as part of this plan. It would make sense in the future to have that follow this. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
We can't comment there, that's not part of your, all I'm asking is to vote on this application is understanding compatibility in your approach to that. Which I think it's important in what you're asking for here.
Yeah, I think the pool is quite often the fencing there for some privacy. And that's what happens a lot with pools. They want to let everybody can get look right into the pool deck and get people swimming and they feel like they're on display. So the pools oftentimes have a little more privacy fence than what we put in this building. Right. Okay. Except that one every time you can look down into the pool.
Of course, if the inside is a different story, but not every guy pulls on the window story again. Yeah, we got it. Right. Well,
So my just thought on that is there's a lot of railing here. So I think there's a compatibility issue with the whole site, and I would call out as we go on.
Yeah, we certainly now we're really just becoming familiar with the property. We would, I don't know if you noticed the back side of the pool, there was a new wall built.
Yeah.
You probably saw that because that was really deteriorated. I'm glad to see that that's finished up too. And that's what's happened in the past. Understanding all the whole things, including the wall pool, it's a partnership between the Butler and Singapore. And we're trying to figure out how that works with them right now. But we certainly want it still first time. So we will work with that. It's compatible.
My only other question that would be, since this is all open, do you have any more detail on what we see in terms of the bar materiality and things that we see in there? So is it?
I don't have anything laid out really, but I'm imagining some sort of like a face of the bar, like a siding.
Okay.
That's right.
And then, I'm not sure what kind of bar top they want, you know, solid surface or wood, with a, you know.
Yeah, we can get to that.
Okay.
So we
So,
talking about something that was standing elements. That's the key thing for having something that's going to be outdoor.
so I would say since that can be seen and it's open and not behind the walls, like an interior element, we can vote on it with some staff approval conditions too. So like as an example, if you need it to be weather resistant, it could be hardy, it could be natural wood. If it's hardy or cement board, we always say not stamped, like to look like thick wood.
Oh,
Um,
we wouldn't mind that. So.
And then, sorry, 2A, my last last question, then I'll move on. Is there a lighting plan for underneath? Because as a two-story structure, I think that's important. Just knowing, like, is it up lighting? Is it down lights? How does that impact the surroundings and what things are like?
We didn't do a light plan yet. I envision being down lighting, again, something that can withstand the elements. I could see potentially, some string lights along the edges, potentially, outer edges of the canopy, but it would be down lighting. So, and additionally, probably we'll put some fans in there too. We've done that at our facilities, so you get some air movement, to be more traditional.
So that then calls also like ceiling condition. Is it on the bottom floor? Is it a wood ceiling, metal ceiling, and then is it above?
I envision the floor being similar to the barge. So what you're laying in, object is correctly, and you're laying in concrete deck for your second floor, which then becomes the finish for your first floor. But then how we finish, how we make that look underneath is part of the theme of it, obviously. But I see it kind of being a concrete floor to support the second level, which is your support.
When are you guys looking to break ground?
We love the break ground this fall because we've got something ready for next season.
Okay. I mean, I wish we had that. Feel like we need that, especially the second floor. I'm less concerned about the first, what you're saying. But I do think like what we look at to make sure that we're aligned. If that's all timber and wood and trusses, you know, great. That's all natural materials, and totally with you. If it's vinyl, it wouldn't be.
Are you talking about the finish of the top of the line? Yeah, we see that being overlooked. We don't see it being anything dropped into it to finish it off. Is your understanding of it too?
Well, we had discussed vaulting it at some point, but we are going to, we were thinking that we would put some sort of soffit siding or something, just the words don't be on in the back. But it was going to be more timber open vaulted ceiling.
Yeah, I'll open that back up to you guys to see if you have any more questions around that. For me, that's about the only really open issue. That, and with full disclosure around what I think we have jurisdiction on and what we don't. Lighting, it could be really tragic if there's a bunch of really white LEDs that are very bright. You can't control the type of light bulb and put in things. But we do, as a historic district, try to help guide on how it's compatible with the neighborhood. So in terms of the amount of light. Right. So that's kind of a concern for me, especially in water. I love the charm of what you're talking about, the string lights and all that, but that could be mitigated if it's a whole bunch of really white LEDs and stuff like that. So that's not clear for me.
So a quick question for Cindy, because I mentioned planning commission, where does planning commission come in on this?
Planning commission will come in because it's an expansion of a restaurant and outdoor seating. So there will be planning commission hearing. They really don't control aesthetics as much as they control hours of operation, limits on lighting does come up in there. Hours of operation, any restrictions that they want to put on live music or that kind of thing, but it's more of a use issue than an aesthetic.
Any other follow-up questions?
Well, I want to make sure what we're asking and what are we asking of them specifically? So if they have some direction.
I think the thing we always try to do, to be fair to every applicant, is apply the same level of requirement in terms of detail. So my only question about voting on this is how comfortable we feel about seeing that ceiling condition. And not seeing a lighting plan, which would normally be part. And if I think back to our large approval, even as a like for like, we saw all of that.
More detail. You're asking for more detail.
I don't want to hold you up. So what's the thought level of my head is there a staff approval around materiality? I'm not really concerned about materiality as long as you guys understand our guidelines and know that we can't climb the ceiling and vinyl siding.
Right,
Yeah.
no plan to do that, but I understand.
But I think the ceiling condition and the lighting is significant enough that I think we have documentation of what we're approving.
And that to be administrative.
I think so. I think it can be, but I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, when you did the bar, so you were here when the bar. Can you just give us a brief comment of that? Did you have, was it just suggestions? Because it doesn't stand out, it doesn't strike me as a place to go, you know, any time of the day.
The major difference,
Because whatever you did there, it felt like it worked. How do you apply that to this proposal?
it's a fair question.
We have color evidence for that. That show all the material.
We did, but the biggest difference was that was a contributing structure, adding a structure beside it. So it had a different level of rigor of compatibility.
A bigger deal, you say?
Yeah. But we didn't really look at what was inside the first level because it had garage doors and it was an inside structure, so it was sort of owner choice. It doesn't really have a roof. We did look at the bar, kind of to that question of like, what's the materiality of the bar? And in fact, I think at one point they wanted a bath roof, which we felt quite compatible. So that it is a good like apples to apples. I wouldn't feel comfortable not having staff approval on those two conditions on the lighting.
And I could bring, we could approve the general concept, and I could even bring that back to you at the next meeting, what they've submitted, and you could amend your original approval.
I think you right. Okay. Is there any other thing like that that we're missing that you guys want to look at or ask about before we go?
I know the question.
Yeah.
So is your plan to use this all year?
Well, I mentioned it's seasonal only,
Just seasonal.
that's why we're not putting sides.
No panels around panels, curtains, anything like that.
It's a good question because if you did ever choose to do isoglass or roll up in the district, that's always been seasonal as well. So always before they put garage doors in, things went up and down. But at least it's the same way before. Just
You're saying that was acceptable or was not?
it was acceptable, but it was seasonal.
Yeah,
It's still not there. Not isoglass.
And you were wrong, you were right. Yeah.
The only other thing I was gonna say, looking through the standards of generation C, you touched on street state compatibility. Like if we're trying to frame a motion, we're gonna need to put some constraint on that. Architectural style, I didn't hear anybody other than that's what you see on the inside. Compatibility of setting and massing, I feel, and then compatible detail. I think those are the ones that we talked about. So I'm gonna pick them out too. Streetscape compatibility and the compatibility detail. Those are the things you want to come back and have a long exposure to, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And those are the things that I think can be staff approved. I still think the amount of railing and compatibility to the adjacent fence is an issue for me. That's my issue that I will have in my head as I vote. Any other questions or? Okay, go ahead, motion.
Let me try this. So move to approve application P-0 HIS-21021, 40 Butler Street. With amended approval at the next meeting to include more detail on streetscape compatibility and 2 compatible detailing.
Second,
Second.
Does that make sense?
is there any more discussion about the language? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
There we go.
Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you. We'll get more information so we can answer those questions. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, going on to application number 4.
Application number 4 is Lisa Gonzalez, and we have her here on Zoom. She was not able to attend the meeting in person today. So we did our best to make this Zoom stuff work. It's not working the way I wanted it to, but it's close. So she has 2 applications in. The first one is she wants to place a generator at her property. And I did include those standards in your memo. I don't think she has a generator picked out, a specific brand or type. And there's one thing that I think is accurate is a generator has to be 2 feet from the house and 5 feet away from a window. And those are the only 2 building code things that I'm aware of. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it's 2 feet and 5 feet.
2 feet away from the house and 5 feet away from a window.
Yes.
In this application, we do not have a proposed location, is that correct?
Well, we have it in the description that it would be,
Northwest side.
yes,
Side of the-
yep.
So I don't see any location.
No, we don't have the exact location or the brand and type of generator.
So I'm not as concerned with the perimeter type, but is the applicants on the phone, can you help us with the location? Is it between you and your neighbor?
Yes, yep, it's gonna be over there. And eventually there'll be like a fence there, but that's far, far down the line. But so it won't be seen from the street at all.
So in your deck, it's on the right hand side of the house.
If you're facing the front door, yes, it's on the right-hand side. Yep.
And so you need to vote on these separately too.
They're 2 different, they're pretty different applications. That's why I listed them that way. With different standards, so.
So that would be at the north side of the house.
North and west. Toward the front of the house or toward the back?
More towards the back, as far back as we can.
We're looking at or standard. Will the generator be enclosed or will it be not enclosed?
We actually haven't gotten that far. It was just that whole blackout like last month, which made us realize we probably need a generator. Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. Whatever is up to code, I don't wanna, I'm not sure.
The generator is going to stay there all the time. It's going to be permanent installation, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear him.
Will it be a permanent installation and not a portable generator?
Yes, yep, yes.
Just to approve, yeah, just to approve. Yeah.
We don't know where. Or where it's moving. Well, what do we have jurisdiction over the generators?
I put that in your memo, the standard, and you are allowed to condition it upon some plantings. You're allowed, we don't really regulate landscaping unless it's in connection with disguising or shielding some equipment.
Yeah, the streetscape comes into play too. I believe.
We
I
do
guess-
plan on landscaping eventually.
Yeah.
Once,
I guess, I'll jump in. Before we say we don't have enough documentation for it, I guess I would ask, because the mechanical equipment guideline includes heating and cooling and plumbing and air conditioning and ventilation, media, and. So my bigger concern wouldn't be personally where it is on that side. I would prefer it to be back further than in front. And my bigger concern is that next to an air conditioning unit where it ends up looking like a bunch of equipment lined up. And I think we do have standing to ask that it be enclosed somehow, if it is near the front or if it's near another thing. So
Yeah.
personally, I'm less concerned about where it is. Would love it to be towards the back, but if it's mechanically not possible, how do we make sure it's not little soldiers of equipment standing side by side, seen in the street?
yeah, we're gonna try to keep it as back as we can towards the house. Eventually that small area will be fenced in. There'll be landscaping in front, so you won't see back there. And it won't be, the fence won't go all the way to the street. It'll just be enough to cover up, all of the mechanicals back there. And a dog run for our dogs eventually, so it'll be enclosed, hidden away, landscaped. So,
I don't know. What's wrong?
Is there any other question? John, do you have questions?
So based on that, we could just make our approval conditional on both, whether it's landscaping or fence.
Dan, any other? Nico?
No,
Yeah. I think we're fine. Yeah.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I already need to-
I make a motion to approve application PHIS 21020 for 820 Holland Street for the installation of a generator, subject to, if we screen it properly.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay.
Did you get the north side of the north side of it?
I did that.
That's already a.
Yeah.
Okay, close it.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go on to you for the fifth application number 5, which is your steps. So you want to put in some new steps?
pardon?
Talking.
Oh, the steps in the front?
Yeah.
Did we move on? Okay. So the steps in the front, they were old wooden, like put together steps and they weren't safe, so we had to take those down. So I guess my question is how there's cement under there, but I think that might have been from a very long time ago in a previous porch. So I was looking at what I'm allowed to use and what I should use. I guess I'm confused because it said like I could use like what was the original house, or the original house did have concrete, but I don't know when that other section in the front was put in, and I don't know, the timeline of what was first, the cement or the wooden stairs. I'm not sure.
So typically what would happen is, since there's wooden steps there, and they've been there for quite some time, you could replace like as what's there. We don't know how old they are. If there's firm evidence of concrete steps, original, we would prefer that. However, I don't know that there's firm evidence. It could be the bottom stoop that was concrete and wood was on top of that, or you just don't know unless you know.
I don't know. The only thing that I do know is because of the building code, the replacement steps will have to meet the building code. And there has to be a 3x3 landing at the top. And I don't think that exists now.
And it didn't exist before either, I don't think.
So that's different than materiality. So that's a code issue that has to be followed. So I think we could also base our decision on the massing of concrete versus the massing of wood in that space. So knowing that there's wood now, if the applicant prefers wood for whatever reason, we can evaluate that based on, is the wood massing better than a big concrete massing on that structure?
I guess if we had to go with the wood, could we use a composite or on the top? I know the post might have to be wood for code.
Yeah, she asked that here, if that is approved, would we be able to use a Trex material instead of wood?
So I think you have to apply for what you want, and we have to discuss it. And that's what we would be voting on. We've approved tracks before. I don't know that we've approved tracks on the face of the steps. So in other words, it would be wooden, like a wooden
Riser.
riser structure or wooden railings, tracks.
I think that's to code, right? To do a wooden riser and be on top of the, so we do wood and then tracks and then wood and then tracks. Because I know you want them enclosed.
Right.
Yeah.
And we would want them enclosed too. And we would not approve synthetic railings. It would need to be wood or wrought iron or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a code thing too, actually. They can't be the Trex material. Yeah.
So I don't want to shorthand this, but I don't know that, I think your application is more a question about what can be done. I think we can give you guidance today.
Okay.
We could vote on it with a staff approval, given the elements we just gave you, and you could, and to Cindy, which would need to be code compliant. Or you could come back with a proposal. I'm sort of leaning towards the first, if that works for you.
Okay. So we just decide which way we want to go and then come back with a proposal and I'll send it to Cindy. Okay.
So I would ask for a motion on this that includes that language of the way we would approve it with staff approval. Okay, I'll take staff. Motion to approve as submitted with the following notes. The steps will be wooden risers and natural material railings to comply with code. That the scale and massing will comply with code and either represent the existing footprint or grow no larger than code requires. And that synthetic surfaces only by a material approved vendor per the city for staff approval would be permitted. Second.
Yep.
Discussion or modification in my language. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay,
Very good.
there you go.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
So patient.
This house, I tell you. Thank you.
You.
All right. Any administrative approvals or updates?
I don't, well, I think we just did one not too long ago for a sign. Yeah, and then I have another one in the works that is to remove the awning on the front of the livery building,
Oh,
just the front one at this time. So I think that probably could be an administrative approval. I don't have the application yet, but it's coming.
That's how I saw it moving yesterday.
Really?
They were taking an awning down, maybe it was in the door there.
oh, they were up on the Griffith side doing something up there on the roof. Oh, I don't know. But I don't know.
I saw it awning in the courtyard. They were rust on it.
That building doesn't have historic awnings, right? It's all.
There was a lot.
Okay, any communication?
None.
Are there any public comments?
I had one, I got a call for my term expires this month, maybe. And I think the question was, would I like to be considered to another term? The answer is yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Calling as well.
on behalf of the city, we apologize, we're a little behind.
That's okay.
I figured you'd all say.
This is what I call PMPP, Post Monica Pre-Padley.
Thank you. Appreciate your contribution to staying on as well as I do all of you. So thank you for, hopefully it's not too much of a burden for anyone. We're getting into a really great together. Any other commission comment or public comment?
Just real quick questions, our next meeting in October the 7th?
That's the first Thursday.
Okay, so if we're in person, I will not be able to make it. I'll be in South Carolina. I will
Okay,
not be here. Vacation, finally.
okay, I don't know what we're going to do, to tell you the truth, to be completely honest. It changes from day to day. I know the township has gone completely virtual.
Yeah, can I just ask why one or the other? Because I think we're living in a combined world. So I think, honestly, I think all of us should be on computers, on mute, coming off mute, so we don't have to do that with you. That's not fair to the applicant or you.
No, and it was supposed to be set up, so it would come through the little microphone over here, and we've got 3 quotes, I think, to install something more conventional, more permanent, more user-friendly. It's not going to be quick because they're having trouble getting components. But we do have 3 quotes from different companies to install the audio visual that we need to have true hybrid meetings.
But I guess what I'm confused about is if I was at home right now, I'm on Zoom, just like an applicant's on Zoom. Y'all can hear me, you can see me, I can see you. We're on equal footing if whether we're here or there or a mix of both. Is that not allowed for city meetings?
It's allowed for, if you're in the military, you can be participating by Zoom, or if you have a medical condition, you can participate by Zoom. The temporary one that you could do it for no reason has expired. So you just, if you have a medical condition, you can do it, or if you're in the military. Or if everybody's doing, I mean, if there's an order that says you have to do it by Zoom.
So is there a thing we can leave and vote on
The city council, as a city council decision, and this time, the mayor's not ready to make that decision to transition to a hybrid or back to. So long as churches and other establishments are fully open, we should be meeting in person. So we could, just for a little bit more detail, we could at some point declare another state of emergency like we did, and then we all go back on Zoom. It's really one, nothing in between. So.
Well, I'll just say that's just goofy because the world is not going back one way or another. I will lose employees if I require them to all come back. It's like I think we're going to lose participation because we may not be quorum.
Totally agree with preaching to the choir.
So I'll say that
Allow.
on the record so that we try that.
I think the hybrid system is for us to be meeting in person and people can participate by doing the Zoom. That's the intent of the hybrid, not to exclude people from participation just because they're uncomfortable meeting in person for whatever reason, that they don't want to be vaccinated or whatever their reason is. We want that participation to stay. But I think the state law, the way it is right now, if you don't have a medical condition or in the military, it's in person.
And the legislature is refusing to consider it.
Better beyond that, Mr. Vice Chair. I'm getting wings again, very.
Sure, sure. I know, it was so convenient. It was absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
quick question. So even if we're here in person, can we all zoom in?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so the people that are attending via Zoom, we're with them via Zoom.
Yep, we can try something like that. I would love to try it with this group because it's a little bit, we have a lot less attendance, a lot less audience participation. I think that would work. I'm going to see what our people say. There's some things that you can't do. You can't have your speaker on, all of your, everybody has to be muted.
I've done it 8 times today. It's a speaker ballet, and we're all used to it. It's like poop, talk, poop, you.
Yeah.
So,
Will you be able to project? Is that part of the plan?
That's part of the new plan. Yes, it would be very helpful. And you see what's on the screen there would be available to the audience.
Okay, so curiosity question. Are these standard all under control?
Yes. And they all have a little string. So when you pull the little chain, it changes the speed. So yeah, I don't have a ladder for that.
I'm sitting there looking at that post out there. I'm like, well, there it is right there. Well, yeah, I'll be curious when they come back. Yeah, I was looking at it on my phone. The neat thing is it's so much smaller, even from a few years ago when it was 18.
Yeah.
Theirs were like still here.
Well, they're still gonna be a little big. Yeah, they have a stake.
Oh, you're right. I couldn't. Verizon is horrible. I am T-Mobile. So now we get great coverage.
Yeah.
No issue.
I gotta go back to AT&T.
Today is the second. Yeah, I figured maybe I can get John's signature too.
I say there we go.
Yeah, and I'm hoping the signatures to be fresh and what we're going on about. I love the reaction. Okay.
His name is spelled wrong.
Yeah, I saw that. I before E except they're after K.
I see you guys.
Nico.
Jocelyn was on
They're all getting so much coverage. Dan was on the other night with that whole judge's decision.
Nice job.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna go over and look at that poll. As I'm sitting here, and that's the butler. It's like, so from a height, it's not gonna just, from a height perspective, it will.
Well, you can see through it.
Oh, that's true. You can see through it.
It's a pretty massive thing.
It is. I mean, I think it's. Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah. Thank you. John, do you mind signing while you're here? Get the gov back on the ballot.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I figured.
So we know her. I think we should call her.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down.
Sorry again, she's up in Bay Harbor now. She lives in Lansing, but she vacations in Bay Harbor.
Face to face.
Right.
It's interesting.
there's a house there's some for you.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
wasn't even gonna crack that open.
Yeah, we're gonna do just a number like Bulwarks. Bulwarks is so nice. But that looks like they're gonna leave the Butler.
They'll try to as much as possible. I was hoping they might say, we'd like to recreate the original.
That would be so, it was such a charming building, that T111 siding just has it
Yeah.
so bad.
All right, thank you. Get out of your way.
All right, in my way, I just have to, I don't know what I have to do. Unplug this. All right, thank you. Yep.
I'm glad I can make it today.
Yeah. No, it was great.
I'm gonna come in tomorrow and have Peter send this battery bucket back so we can get a new one.
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah. I thought I ended the meeting.